nervous?
No.
Okay, it's live.
Just like that. It's live. So today is it's actually a Thursday, but you guys out there will probably be listening to this on a Tuesday, July 3rd to be more specific, a day before Independence Day. Hope you guys are gonna have a nice, fun, and safe Independence Day wherever you guys are. I'm in San Jose, but it seems like fireworks are considered illegal to do at home. Compared to SoCal, they don't do that. But Masa, any plans for Independence Day?
We don't have a plan, but we decided to open LAPOM during the July 4th.
Okay,
See,
got it. So La Pon's open. If you guys are nearby, please feel free to come by. If you guys aren't, some of you guys may have plans already. I think Anime Expo's coming up right around there, so um, enjoy that as well. And kind of segue into our guests today. We have two guests. We have Bichen and we have Zach. Both of them are, well, originated from Seattle, but Bichen is in NorCal right now. But without further ado, let's ask the three questions. Quick intro: where you guys are from, who you guys are, which group you guys play for, stuff like that. And second question: how you got into Mahjong. And third question is what your future goals are. And after that, we'll just have fun. So let's start with Bichen. Take it away.
Can you go one by one with the questions?
Sure, no problem. Quick intro about yourself. Which group you're from,
Sure thing.
your name.
So I'm Bichen. Technically, currently representing PML. I actually learned most of everything from the Seattle group, and then I poofed. Oops. I actually started learning. I learned how to play Riichi in my college anime club. During a Halloween party, we decided to play Mahjong, and it took 6 hours to finish all 4 wins because we didn't know how to play. So we played all 4 wins, and it took 6 hours to play all 4 wins. And then I was like, oh, this is cool. Let's play some more. But then no one wanted to do that again because that took 6 hours.
I see. I'm surprised that for first timers, you guys actually went through the whole thing.
Well, I was the only one that stayed the entire time. I think we had 10 people swap in and out.
I see.
Yeah.
It's like you have to refresh the troops as they die on the front line.
Zach, quick intro.
Hi, my name is Zach. I'm a game designer out of Seattle right now, and I'm playing for the Seattle Riichi Mahjong Club. I started playing Mahjong kind of out of a whim. I learned about the game, I learned on my own how to play, and then I was trying to find people who wanted to play in person. I had a group of people that I would play board games with, and I managed to convince them to play with me in person, like once, but they really weren't like invested in the idea. You know, they would rather play Euro board games or something like that. And so one of them knew my roommate knew someone from Nintendo who they worked with, and there were a couple people who had played Mahjong who brought it from Japan who played at Nintendo, and that's how I got introduced to Hiro Alexander, and we started a small Mahjong get-together that we played out of a shopping mall, basically local shopping mall. And there was a Facebook group that they had created. out of some, there's some local scene and a little bit of like drama between people about the control of this Facebook group, and we're like, whatever, we just want to play Mahjong. And that started the seeds of what would become the Seattle Riichi Mahjong group. The other half from, what was it, the Microsoft mailing list. It's the Microsoft Monday Mahjong mailing list. This was another group that had already existed at some point up to this point. There was, I don't even know who created it, but literally everybody who was originally on this mailing list, we still play at Microsoft, the Seattle Riichi Mahjong. But everyone who was originally on that list no longer plays Mahjong with us.
Really?
Either they no longer work for Microsoft, or they stopped playing Mahjong, or they moved on to other things. But there was a passing of the baton that has happened since that point. And so the group that started by playing at in malls with myself and Hiroto, we eventually merged into the Microsoft Mahjong mailing list, and then we split off to something else, and we started using Meetup and stuff.
I see.
But most of our recruitment into Mahjong actually came from SakuraCon, the convention up in Seattle. What we were doing there was, I was convinced that Mahjong was something that is fun and popular probably for anime fans, because at this point Saki and Akagi had already been out for a while, and so I started. There was another local convention called, what was it, Akicon, which ran in the fall, obviously, and I took a table down there just to test it out. I didn't ask for permission. I just set up in the hotel lobby in one of the food court areas. I just set up Mahjong, and made a little handwritten sign that was like, "Do you want to learn how to play Mahjong? Sit down, we'll teach you how to play Mahjong." Basically. And we got a couple people who were interested enough to walk up and sit through the thing, and there were some people who were kind enough to help me out with that. Mostly, I believe my roommate Shane Zamora, he was there. We both got into Mahjong together. We met through the Microsoft mailing list thing as well.
So that's how you guys were connected. Bichen, were you also part of the original or somewhat original Microsoft mailing list group, or?
Nope, I joined well after they were established.
Okay. So after the merger and everything. I see.
How I met Bichen, it was like, we actually met Bichen before I started the SakuraCon room. We were trying the same thing the next year at SakuraCon, where I was just bringing a Mahjong set, and we would set up at various places. We ended up playing Mahjong food court. We ended up playing like on the top of the escalator. We ended up playing in the karaoke room. Just like, we would be playing on the floor. You had gotten the blessing of SakuraCon to do this on an experimental or official basis. We were just playing Mahjong because we like anime and we like Mahjong, so let's play Mahjong at this place that we're already going. And and I met Bichen while I was playing Mahjong up at the top of the escalator. Bichen had a Kaguya cosplay, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is, but they like Kaguya, so like they can't be all that bad.
True that. So how long ago was this? How many years ago?
2013.
Yeah,
2013.
I would
5 years ago.
Like figure that out backwards, because we've run that was the last year that we had not done it officially. And the next year, we got blessing from SakuraCon to start doing the room in an official capacity.
Uh huh.
Doing it for we just had our 5th year in
Mhm.
2015 of doing it.
Mhm. Mm. Okay. And then you mentioned Shane, which we've met a couple times in tournaments and events and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
actually,
how many?
there's
Uh-huh.
Shane
Yeah.
Moore and
Uh-huh.
Shane Rideout,
Yeah.
both of which went to the World Riichi Championship. So
Yes.
at one point, we all lived together in the same house. It was
Whoa.
the highest density per square foot of world mahjong
Huh.
players.
Huh.
At
So
least
both Shane?
there were 3 of us who were all living in the same house.
Wow. So all you needed was one more player, and you guys could play pretty much any time you guys wanted.
Yeah, basically, and that would often be like, hey, let's see if we can call someone over and we can play mahjong.
Oh.
Wow, in like 5 minutes, like a lot of information. I have a question.
A lot of history.
Yeah, a lot of history. And the Microsoft, huh? It's interesting.
Yeah,
Zach,
and
Zach,
I
do
don't
do
know
you?
entirely the history of the Microsoft mailing
Mm.
list because, once again, a lot of the people who I met through that, we're still friends.
Mhm.
A lot of them don't play
Mhm.
mahjong anymore, or
Mhm.
one of like Anupam sometimes shows up. He was there before I was, and uh,
Mhm.
he now works out of um, Issaquah or something like that. So
Mhm.
it's a bit of a trip for him. Um,
Mhm.
So Zach, do you know Bill Gates play Mahjong or not?
I'm pretty sure the answer is no, but
Okay.
I don't want to
Steve Ballmer?
much.
Maybe Steve Ballmer?
Who knows?
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
Clipper owner.
we've stopped
Yep.
advertising within Microsoft and moved
Uh-huh.
to meet up for our outward facing organization.
I see, I see. Mhm. Okay. Um, I know you said a lot of the people left, but what's the ratio between maybe some of the older players and the newer players that you guys maybe obtained through SakuraCon?
Probably as for people who have joined in the last 5 years, which would be after we
Uh-huh.
started doing it in a more official capacity, our
Uh-huh.
attrition rate is once people play within the group for at least a year, then in
Mhm.
general, the only reason why they end up not playing mahjong anymore is because they get a job and move. That's
Okay, okay. Somewhere
so,
far.
sometimes it's somewhere that's like down in Renton or something like that, and they don't have
Uh-huh.
good transportation, or even from Seattle to um, the east side, since we
Uh-huh.
play Redmond, uh, it's kind of a commitment to drive there on a weeknight. Like we do start at
Mhm.
7, so it's a little bit after traffic has dined down a bit, but
Uh-huh.
people uh, can't make that commitment every week. We also
Uh-huh.
started playing multiple games a night, so
Uh-huh.
if you can't make the first game, we welcome people to show up for the second game and so on.
I see, I
And
see.
then, of course, there's people who moved to California. We have probably fed 3 or 4 people directly into the amount.
So I've heard. Bichen being one of them.
Yep. And David.
A couple other
and
people.
Junda.
Yep. Yep. Which we hope to have on the show someday.
And is he
Um,
playing, or is he too busy with work now?
Who?
Evan Nelson?
Oh, I think he's too busy. Oh yeah, we stole Evan also. We also stole Tiger.
Mm.
Tiger. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I think I've met him once. Yeah.
So
yeah.
He goes to UC Berkeley.
Just the feeder group for PML.
Oops.
So just make sure to you guys still play at the Microsoft office.
We play now in the Microsoft Commons in
Commons.
the Sub Mixer building. So it's
Okay. And,
it's in the more public area of Microsoft. We don't play in one of the offices anymore for
I see.
security reasons, but
Okay.
We do
Got
still
it, got
play on Microsoft Campus.
Okay, and the commons are accessible to everyone, any local player, as long as they reach out to you guys.
Hosted by Microsoft employees, so we do still have full-time employees who
Mhm.
are hosting the event, and
Got it.
they need to be present to let us in. But
Uh-huh.
uh, we run less risk of putting ourselves in a compromising situation with security by staying
I
away
see, I
from
see.
anything that might be
Uh-huh.
sensitive.
Okay, got it. Interesting to hear the history behind you guys and the group as well. We've heard bits and pieces, but never really the full story until now. That whole sequence. So that's pretty interesting. Um,
It's been one of those things. It's just kind of snowballed over time, right? Because
yeah, yeah.
okay, the attrition rate is relatively low. Like once people get really into mahjong, a lot of
Mhm.
people pick that to be their hobby to, continue to do, and they make good friends
Yeah,
here. And
yeah.
we've had some very nice, proactive players who have done a lot of organization outside of, our weekly meetups.
Hmm.
Like between um, Edwin and Paige and Heather,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
we've had people who have helped create other fun events for us to do, uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
are mahjong related. So we've turned into a nice big happy family, I guess you could say.
I see, I see.
And
Mm.
we're trying to make sure that all mahjong players are welcome. Whenever we're doing like a camping retreat later this year, and
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
anyone is welcome to come if they're willing to travel up to the Pacific Northwest to go do some like log cabin mahjong or whatever it's gonna end
Mm.
up being.
Thank you
You guys
for
done it last year?
Yeah, we went out to a one of those sort of camp style houses, like the kind you might do some sort of retreat at on the western on the Pacific coast on the little like peninsula of
I see.
Washington last year, and it was
Oh,
really fun. It was in
nice.
January. We tried to make this like a New Year's thing, so it was
Mm.
it was not as scenic as we would probably like it to be. So maybe having it at a different time, we can have
Uh-huh.
some. Then again, how scenic do you need it to be if you're going to be inside playing mahjong, right?
Oh, I see, I see. Mm-hmm. Masa, I think you were gonna say something earlier.
yes, I have a question from Junko for Zach.
Hmm.
Zach speaks really, really good Japanese.
Hmm.
That's true.
And how did you learn?
So I started learning Japanese on my own in high school, um,
Hmm.
which I don't I don't want to give away too much information about my age. So we'll just say it was.
Okay.
I mean, I'm 17 right now. I'm part of the Church of the Eternal 17, so you know. But I studied in college. I studied abroad in Japan, and then I've just been, my hobby is collecting manga in Japanese and reading it. So
Mhm.
that's been a lot of. Uh, not a day has gone by in the last however many years that I have not read or spoken Japanese.
Yeah,
Mm.
when they came down to the LA for the team tournament, we went eat and karaoke together, and we surprised Zach singing the Japanese song.
Hmm.
Yep, that was and very well as well. Did a nice job. Was a good icebreaker, I think.
Yeah,
Some of the
yeah.
people, yeah, they were a little hesitant to hold the mic in. I think you kicked it off pretty good.
I like I like doing karaoke whenever I can because it's
Mm.
people are first surprised about me singing a Japanese song, and then they're like, "Why are you singing things that are so old?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm only 17.
And also
The classics.
yeah, also Junko's asking, she knows Bichen speaks good Japanese too.
Nope.
Do you?
Nope. I don't know anything.
Oh, really? But we heard
I know
like
basic words.
we heard both you guys are really good friends, and then last year you guys went to Japan together, right?
Yes.
So how was in Japan? What did you do?
So last year, to set this up, I have a card game that I made that is based off of Toho called Danmaku, and it went to print in 2016, but I also made some Japanese copies, and with the goal of selling them at Comiket. And the first couple times I applied to Comiket, did not quite, how should I put it, did not quite make it into the first round picks, right? Because the way it works is based off of a number of factors. Only a certain percentage of people who apply for a booth actually get a booth, and then you go into the lottery for any sort of openings that happen after that point. So
I see.
So let's get
last
Stolan
year,
to
we were able to go to Summer Comiket to sell Danmaku, and so Bichen came with me and helped me out there.
too much information.
Really?
I can't catch up, Zach. So what is Danmaku?
Danmaku
Oh yeah, let's do that for the people that don't know.
a party game, so it's designed for 4 to 8 players.
And then
It's
you
based off
made
of
it.
Toho, yes.
Cool.
It was what we would call a Niji Sosaku game, right? So it's a fan game. It's a doujinshi game.
I see.
And it uses Toho characters and setting, and based off of the events and mechanics of the game. So I was trying to take Toho, which is a top-down shooting game where all of the characters are either like yokai or magical girls, basically, and that setting gets reinterpreted a lot. There's a lot of fan art and fan comics and renditions of the music. It's in 2008 or 2010, around that time, it was the most popular thing at Comiket, right? Of all of the things that showed up at Comiket, it was like 20 or 25% or something like that of all were Toho related. It's gone down since then, especially since, it's hard to keep that kind of popularity going for over 10 years. It has a very large presence, and people make new fan works all the time. And so this was our contribution. We're like, well, my art quality is below average, we'll say. We'll put it at I'm maybe on Zune level in terms of art.
So you drew the pictures or manga?
No,
No.
we commissioned pictures. So we found artists, and it was a really global thing because we have artists that are from Latin America, from South America, from Europe, from Asia, from Japan and USA. And, we have, people in everywhere from Hungary to Chile who have worked on the game.
Wow.
And
very global.
so it's there are a lot of very talented artists out there who, a lot of them do not speak Japanese, but they're really, really good at making the anime style art. So
Okay.
we're able to get them to help with the
last
game.
last show we have invited guest your friend Charlie from Seattle and the James from the Colorado from the Fukumoto Crazy.
Mm.
And then James wanted to create his own story, and then they are looking for the someone who could draw the those manga.
Mm.
Can you help them to find artists that they could work together?
I can show them the same resources used, and I might be able to introduce them to some of the artists that we have tapped to work on Danma. A lot of them are busy over various parts of the year. Like the summer time in particular is what we would call con season, because most of the anime conventions happen in that between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So it's a busy time for a lot of people, but and it depends. Some people specialize in different things. So if they're looking specifically to make like a comic book, that would be different than someone who just makes like a pretty still picture. But definitely.
How long did it take to complete? I mean, from the idea, kind of finalizing the idea part, and from that point, putting into action, and maybe the beta stages. How long did the whole project take?
So the first inklings of idea happened in 2011 when we went to Winter Comic Get together. Me and my friends, we all went to. Actually, maybe it wasn't 2011. Maybe it was 2012. But we were like, okay, this is fun. Maybe we should make our own doujin thing. Like what if we game, and then we said like, oh yeah, we like this kind of game. So what if we had like this, and but we do a Toho thing instead, and that was. It was almost just like, it's the kind of thing you would just say in passing normally. From there, we actually started, and my partner, who works on Danmaku, Tim, he just took a free program that someone made to make magic cards. It's called Magic Editor. He just used a really basic layout. We still have a few examples of the cards that we use. It was just a bunch of gray boxes basically, and started filling some stuff and slapping fan art in there to get the idea across. And it was just enough of a hook that we were able to take it from that just like passing idea that you would just say, walking around Comic-Con as a joke almost, and turn it into something. And our first like print to play version that we put online that was in 2013, and then the final version shipped in 2016. So that gives you a sense of how long we were working on it. Now it's not like it was a full job or anything like that, but it did take a while to actually come and see the light of day.
Because you guys had so many, designers and people all around the world. So I guess trying to organize all that, facilitate all that, was pretty time consuming as well.
Yeah.
Bichen, were you involved in this?
I mostly just was a playtester. And actually, I mostly helped out for their expansion. So here in Berkeley, I wrangle like a bunch of people weekly, so we get together and play every Thursday night at game night, and sometimes after game night. Yep.
I see. So there's already an expansion. Expansion meaning expansion packs, or expansion meaning just spreading the game?
So the game itself is a one-shot game, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's not a randomized game. You buy it and it always has the same contents, and that's you only
Yeah.
need to play it once. So we
Uh-huh.
have one expansion pack or expansion set called Lunatic Extra that we
Uh-huh.
finally got to print this year.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and both of those, the only place that we sell them are on our website at
Okay.
donmaku.party.
Yeah.
That's a URL. Trust me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm showing.
URL will be in the description.
Yeah, I'm showing the screen right now, and then also the link is gonna be below.
Okay. Got it. So if you guys are interested,
So
definitely check it out. If you,
those are kind of interesting, like how they are, doing those stuff.
yeah.
It's amazing.
The idea, well, coming up with an idea, that's one thing, right? A lot of people come up with ideas, but going forward with it, putting in all the time and the resource, that's the amazing part. And obviously you guys had the right resources. Are you guys planning to continue on with this expansion pack, or is there like another game, as a game designer, another game that you have in mind?
So that's a bit of a touchy subject because
Okay.
we got to. I've been employed now at Wizards of the Coast, which, as you know, makes a little card game called Magic the Gathering, but also makes a card game called Duel Masters, which is only for sale in Japan, but is extremely popular, especially among grade school children, because it has it runs in a manga in Korokoro Comics, and there's it comes out weekly. It's pretty popular among that demographic, and so I ended up getting a job working on Duel Masters, and because now that is my job,
conflict of interest and
do too much on the side, but we did have one more expansion that we have announced as of an interview that we did on Gensokyo Radio.
Okay.
Which is a Toho-based podcast that they have live.
I got a good question for you, Zach. So I myself, I don't play those card games. I didn't know board games like such a huge market, but some of the YouTube channels they have a subscriber for like 1.8 million, and like among with those games like Magic Gathering is like a very popular one, right? And then compare with the Riichi Mahjong, because we tried to split the Riichi Mahjong. How different? Like how many players like Magic Gathering and then the Riichi Mahjong right now? And
so I would suspect, I don't have specific numbers, so I don't want to say anything that's factually incorrect, but trading card games in general, and specifically Magic the Gathering, are huge, especially if you consider it as a worldwide thing. So Mahjong is extremely popular, especially if you consider all the different variations that it takes, right? And it's really hard to state how big Mahjong is, especially in Japan. Like, you can walk down just like any major street in Japan and find Mahjong parlors. So there's enough market for people to have permanent real estate where their job is selling to people space to play Mahjong. So obviously that means that Mahjong is huge. It is its own industry, especially in Japan. Magic the Gathering and card games in general also huge. Like on that same street in Japan, you might see a card shop, and then you walk into the card shop, and there's just a wall of cards, individual single that they are selling for Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or Duel Masters or Pokemon. And you know, on any given Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like there might be 30 people crammed into this tiny little card shop doing some tournament, you know, shoulder to shoulder, literally just like stuffed in there just because they love that game so much. So I don't know in terms of dollars or yen how like big each of those industries are, but you know, while they may not hit the same demographics of people, they each have a lot of inertia behind them.
But what about like this? Like from your point of view, does Mahjong has a potential to get like really popular?
Mahjong has, I think, a good potential to be very popular. I think it has all the things that make a very good game, right? It has, I don't want to say it's like the easiest game to learn right off. It has a little bit of a rules overhead, but it's not too hard. It's relatively easy to pick up, but there's a great amount of depth of strategy, and it has what I think is essential for a good game, which is it has a random element to it, which is still within the control of the players, right? So, like a game like chess or shogi or go, like those are very strong games, especially from a competitive perspective, but they're very hard to get into because there is no hope for a player who is not good at shogi to ever beat someone who's good at shogi. You will just lose every time, and it doesn't. You don't even necessarily feel like you're getting better. But for someone who you have to put in the wall to get over that hump from being absolutely garbage to being like even passably okay is huge, and it's very one direction, right? But for Mahjong, there's enough variation where every time you play it, you have to consider something different. There's a lot of hidden information, but there's also a lot of public information. So you can use strategy to change your plays as you're going, and you can still do well even if you don't get lucky, because you can read the board and you can make sure that at very least you aren't the one that's losing points. And you know, there are 3 other players that you can try to play around, and as long as you aren't the worst player at the table, or at least doing the worst at the table, then you can usually come by with you know, make up any losses, even if you have a really bad night.
And then again, Zach didn't introduce himself, but let me add, how was the Zach? I think he is the player from US at the WRC. He went like 2 consecutive time top 32, right?
Yes. So
what was the secret?
Secret?
If you're allowed to say that.
Bichen is very, very good player too, but Zach went to like 2 consecutive. So let's ask Zach, what's the secret?
You know, I cannot deny that part of it has to be that I got fortunate, right? There's that aspect when you have so many good players, and you are all playing at very high level Mahjong, that like if you don't admit that there's some amount of luck to getting into top 32, then well, you're attributing a lot more to your skill than you probably should be. So I want to say there are definitely people who are better players than I who did not make it into top 32 at the WRs. But as for my personal play style, I don't give up. I think, particularly when it comes to those tournaments, every time I get a hand, I don't look at this and I say, oh, this is a garbage hand, I'm going to bail. I look at it and say, how can I win with this hand? And I stop. And every game, I look at the game and I say, how can I win this game? How can I make it? And the difference in attitude, it's something that I can't even really do on our weekly meetings, especially since if you're only playing 1 or 2 games, it's hard to get into that zone where you look at every garbage pile of hand that you get and you say, well, how do I turn this into a winning hand?
Yeah.
How do I beat this pro sitting across from me? So I don't know. Maybe it's like the kind of person who does poorly on homework but can always ace the test. I don't know.
And then from top 32,
What's your...
From top 32...
What about the defense part, though?
So I play a pretty tight Mahjong. I try to obviously not throw in, but I'm willing to bend it if I think I can get away with it. I will take some semi-risky plays, or I'll discard based off of, I guess, what you would call a more intuition-based discard when I'm trying to push really hard, right? You know, like, oh, this person had this and this is their early discard, so this is, you know, probably safe. Or I can suss out that these tiles are probably in that person's hand, so I think this is safe against that player at very least.
And then from top 32, the format will be a little bit different, right? I think it's like multiple, like 2 games, and then top 1, 2 is gonna go to the next round.
Right.
So you have experience, and what was the difference, you think?
Well, obviously, one of the biggest differences is that you are only playing against the best players. Like, not just the best players, but the players who have worked it out between the best players to make it to the top 32. So it's just like surprising, almost like preternatural how quickly they will build hands, or how quickly they'll get huge scores, or be able to sniff out, you know, you can't just rely on having a typical hand and expect someone to deal it. You know, they can recognize all the patterns. They do this for a living, literally. You know, they probably play Mahjong every single day.
Yeah.
And so the level of competition is much higher, but it's not something that is an unsurmountable wall. You just have to also play at that level. And at that point, I guess if everyone is playing at the same level, the impact of both being lucky and being attentive, you know, playing defensively, is multiplied.
And then speaking of WRC, I watched the game from LA because I couldn't go to the Vegas for a long time, and I watched the Bichen's game.
Oh,
Which was, I think, you play against who was that? Maehara-san.
I don't remember. Yeah, Maihara.
Yeah, he is the Hoi, and like he has a couple titles, and he's one of the best player. How did you feel?
pretty intimidating. Everyone was just like super quiet and then just like draw,
And then-
discard,
And then
draw, discard.
for the video or table, you guys went to the different rooms, right? Not in like everybody
Yes.
surrounded. Were
It-
you
It was like in the middle.
Were you nervous?
Not really. It just felt like a regular old game against people I don't know
Uh-huh.
that are much better than me. Got a little lucky.
Did you know who My Hunter Pro was? Like as like his records, his titles before
Nope.
going into the game? Found out afterwards?
I basically knew no one at like no Japanese people at all.
Maybe that was a better way to approach it.
just pretend everyone is just like just a person, right? And then you're playing against the tiles.
Yeah, pretty much. Although we kind of knew that like 99% of the Japanese people there were pros.
Yeah.
Excluding us and maybe one or two people from New York. I was like, yeah, they're just another Japanese guy.
Yep.
I mean, so I got Vegas like in how many days? Like fourth day or fifth day? Like
Mhm.
and then everybody I see the pros was on like from the TV. That's like my like idols or heroes. Like, oh my God, there's like Seto Kuma. Oh my God, there's like Hisato. Oh, wow, right? But it seems like a lot of players like from the Western, they play really good because they don't get nervous because they don't know.
Yeah, we don't know who they are.
And then speaking of the WRC, there was like a documentary team was shooting the documentary at the Vegas too, right?
Yes.
So Bichen, could you tell us a little bit about them?
So yeah, this is mahjongmovie.com, Masters of Mahjong documentary. Basically, it uses some footage from WRC, but we also want to include all the other types of mahjong, and basically we want to promote mahjong in the world. And this is just
That sounds
like
nice.
looking at the history of mahjong, looking at tournaments, looking at club meetings, and all different kinds of like Chinese, American mahjong, and Riichi mahjong. So it'll be like, this is the world of mahjong. Let's try to bring this to people. Yeah. And Jamie is looking for funding for this documentary. So if anyone knows anyone that wants to be part of the credits, let Jamie know.
Yeah, they made a preview for the short movie, and then that was really cool. It's I felt like it's a little bit different than like because like there's like a lot of video from Japan about the mahjong, right? But their views and the how do you say their the artwork, those like a little bit different, and then it was kind of new. And I think if this is come out, then it's gonna get popular in Japan too.
Yep, hopefully.
So Jamie is the one working on, right? Where is he came from?
Jamie is from the UK.
UK.
Yeah.
So is he working with the Gemma in UK?
Yeah. Jamie was working with Gemma. Not sure what it's at right now, but basically, they they're trying to do a lot of coverage through a lot of like clubs here. So they might come down to Seattle or California. Maybe they'll do some shoots there.
Okay. So first thing first, I think I heard that Gemma is very rich. So let's ask Gemma. No, just kidding. But I hope this gonna come out like real documentary for like 1 hour 2 hour thing. I really want to watch this one.
Yes. I also really want to watch it, but the production is short a lot of money, so there's no way they can actually make it without a lot of money.
meaning they're still planning to shoot a lot more footage.
Yes.
There's more stuff that they want to include, but equipment costs money. Editing and shooting, the camera crew, audio crew needs some kind of support as well. So, is there some kind of page or contact that people out there could contact you guys?
I think if you just look
When it
at the
comes to this?
contact information on the mahjongmovie.com,
Okay.
it's
That's the
Jamie
best source, the best way.
just
Okay.
ping Jamie directly if you have anything
Uh-huh.
you want to talk about with the documentary.
Got it. Awesome. All right. So I think that was pretty good stuff. We didn't get a chance to go over your future mahjong goals. So, Bichen, if you want to go ahead and mention what your future goals are when it comes to mahjong.
So a couple of things. Like one, I want to do better at WRC. I don't want to just become a punching bag because I've definitely felt like one. Every time I'd reach, no one would respect it, and then no one would have to deal in, and then at some point,
I see.
they win a hand, and I'm like, wow, okay, well, let me not do that. How do I not be a punching bag? Another thing I wanted to do somehow is start a more permanent presence. Like right now, we're just playing in people's houses. They're small, like we can only fit so many people, and they're only available like when we're around. Like we can't.
The host is available, yeah.
Yeah, unless the host is available, we can't just be like, and then like 10 people show up randomly. No, can't do that.
Yeah.
So I would really like a more permanent place. Like LAPOM,
it's
for the Bay Area. But
is a permanent room for mahjong, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you guys end up getting a cool place like that? Where isn't real estate expensive down there?
It is. It is,
yeah.
But we got lucky.
That's like mahjong. This is where the luck comes in. We were fortunate to meet, bump into the right people, negotiate with the right people. So we're blessed in that sense. But sometimes it does get a little tricky because it's not directly with the landlord. You have to deal with your neighbors sometimes, and that is the tricky part. But again, having a fixed location definitely helps to have a stable, situation. We want to stay at one location for a long period of time. There's always some expansion or, whether it be some other issue. When we first moved, the location was pretty good, but our members were increasing, so it was a little too small at the time. We moved out. And then now we're trying to figure out what the next step is. Size is right, but there's other things that we want to do with our space. So, we're looking at different locations again. The tricky part is kind of explaining to the landlords what we do. Because still the image, right, when people hear mahjong, it's like, it's that gambling game. It's either that or,
when they say it's that thing that Chinese ladies play, right?
Exactly.
That's probably the hardest stereotype to get over when trying to get people who are under the age of 30 to start playing mahjong.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
My grandma plays.
Yeah. So, trying to explain that, and we've done it multiple times to a point where I think the people that we talk to kind of gets what we're doing. Our first landlord, thanks to him, he took us in without really, suspecting or if any gambling would happen. He believed in what we did. He believed in what we said, and if not for him, we wouldn't have been where we are right now. Our current location too. But yeah, we're still thinking of different things. I think rent, although it is expensive, it might be a little cheaper than the Bay Area. So for Bichen, maybe is it cheaper in Berkeley compared
It's a little bit,
to
yeah,
a
compared
little
to San
bit?
Francisco, but it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
somewhere around like 60,000 a year. So
I see, I see.
I don't know how we're gonna get
Um,
that.
yeah. So that does become a tricky part. We had other ideas too, how to fund these things, and it's trial and error. We don't have a solution, but and luckily our members are supportive. They kind of believe in what we do, what we're trying to do, spread it at least locally for now. The concept, having a place like that where everybody's welcome, because it is a public space, not somebody's house where you could say, "Oh, I don't really like this person, so you're not invited," stuff like that. So we try to be open. But Berkeley is a college town or university town, right? So there might be
Yes.
some things there. Um, Guests on our previous episodes, we asked the same question: how do you guys find these places? And some of the interesting answers were libraries. Some of them were sports bars, restaurants, even.
Yep.
So
Cafe.
any connect that, yeah, Starbucks is something that we've heard before. Um, a place is a place, and I think it's connection. It is trying to meet people, trying to explain to them what you guys do, hopefully have them understand and work something out. But yeah, it might not be the best advice, but that's the best thing I can see right now. We were just super lucky.
An issue that the Seattle group is also struggling with. We don't want to be playing out of Microsoft's common areas forever. If we can help it, we would like to get a permanent fixture like LAPOM has, but it's really hard. Seattle is also not one of the cheapest areas
Yeah.
in the country to get real estate. And even if you're looking
Yes.
for something like there are community centers where you can room, but
Correct.
even
Yes.
that it's something like we would have to collect, from everyone who plays, like
Hmm.
$10 or $15 a night or whatever to cover
Yes.
the costs of the rooms, and
Yeah.
the going from free to
Hmm.
cost of a meal at a decent
Yes.
restaurant is a pretty big jump for most people to ask just to do the
Yeah.
same thing we were already doing.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
somebody from Seattle find out Bill Gates' phone number, and then we can teach him to play Mahjong.
Right? Be like, get him interested, and then
Yes.
philanthropically, he donates, to get us a room.
Please, the community
Yeah.
needs it. The rich community needs the foundation.
But yeah, the funding is always an issue. It's always hard, legality and stuff like that. There are a couple ideas that we're trying to make shape, to make something like this happen. Maybe some kind of funding thing. So when we could figure out all the details, we'll definitely let everybody know.
Yes.
I think it's an interesting concept, but we still have to figure out the kinks, how to make this happen. So, yeah. So as a club leader, Bichen, you have your personal goal and you have your group goal, a long-term goal. Zach, what about your goals? Your personal, maybe your group goals might be the same, but
Yeah, very similar. So
Uh-huh.
I want to get into the top 32 again.
Mhm.
If I can do so in the next WRC. I
Mhm.
also want to do better in the top 32. It was
Mhm.
like I could point to a moment. You don't usually get this in Mahjong, or you say like, if I did X instead of Y, then I would have done better. But like in the last hand of the last
Mhm.
game, like time had already been called, so I knew this was the last hand I would get to do. Like if I had waited one more turn before I reached, then I would have gotten something like Riichi Pot Sumo, Ping Fu Tanyao, and an extra Dora, and that would have been enough to push me into the top 2 to advance. But instead, I just got Reach, and then Sumo, and then I had to count on flipping Urador, which didn't come up. So I would point to that one moment and say like, oh, well, I didn't know that I was going to draw, the tile that would give me Tanyao, or the tile that would, give me an extra 2 Han or whatever. But I should have been able to calculate that the chances of me getting there, if I reached at that moment, probably wouldn't have been enough points to push me over the top. So, that's one of those things where I just want to be able to do better in a high stress situation like that, and make it into at least, let's say, the top 16.
Okay.
I don't. Obviously, it'd be great if some player from outside of Japan makes it into top 4, the finals table. That would be great.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see too.
Yeah.
And other than that, for our group goals, like we mentioned, getting a space, that would be great. Obviously, one of the things that I've taken upon myself, just as a greater goal, is being an evangelist for Mahjong. I want to be one of the people who is promoting Mahjong and getting other people interested in Mahjong, even fresh blood into the community. So I want to continue to see that grow.
Okay. Quick question: is there something that may be preventing you from doing that, other than your job, of course? But is there like a hurdle? Maybe it's the rule set. As a game designer, you have to plan everything, and I think you see the game maybe in a different perspective to a certain degree. If there's like a flaw, some improvement that you might see.
So this is not really, I think, a flaw in the game per se. The game has grown very organically, right? It's actually really good that the Japanese Mahjong Association, both of them have done a lot to codify the rules and make one standard set. This is a problem when you play with people who play quote unquote Chinese style. There isn't one Chinese style. There's what you learned from your grandma, right? And then when people play, a lot of times they'll have to like hash out what specific rules they play with and what rules other people play with. What's nice about Mahjong is, even though there are like a few really, really edge case rules that are played differently across different games, for the most part there is one standard set of rules that everyone plays with Mahjong, and that's big when it comes to teaching people and getting people to play across different regions. Is everyone actually playing the same game? But there are a lot of rules, and I think that it would be nice if more people learned how to teach Mahjong in the same sort of way. And that is, I've seen a lot of people teach Mahjong because one of the things that we have to do at SoccerCon is get a lot of staff who are volunteering to teach, because you can only teach at most like 4 people at a time. So if else shows up and they want to learn, or if some other people show up later and you're in the middle of a lesson, well, you need to have more staff who are able to do that. And there are good ways to teach Mahjong, and there are some less effective ways. And one of the mistakes that I see all the time, especially at our club, is a lot of the teachers will jump right into the deep end, or they know internalized all the rules, and they just start by saying, oh yeah, so there's this, but in this situation then there's this other thing, and then there's this, and then this rule's really dumb. And they don't really do it upselling Mahjong or teaching it in an organic way where it's like, start out with only the things that people need to know. Don't teach people Furry 10 on their first hand of Mahjong. Don't teach people Furry 10 on their first game of Mahjong. Don't even teach it to them until they've been playing for 2 weeks and they're into the game and they know it and they get it and it's fun. Like, things about Mahjong that make it complicated are just the things that you eventually learn as you play it enough. But those things can also be a barrier to entry, and I think if we could somehow simplify Mahjong even more, beginners at very least, while still keeping it a compelling game and transitioning and getting this is the such and such method for learning Mahjong, and use that consistently, then I think we can sort of bring up the next generation of players without scaring them off with things like 14 different Yakuman hands that they will literally never
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a never-ending thing, I guess. But for the better, I hope, I think different people try to come up with different things, like an easier version. I think LAPOM were trying to use Suzumejan, which is you're only using the Sozu tiles, slightly different rules, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
We're thinking maybe that could be the easy way to bring in people into Mahjong, but still trial and error.
The other difficulty is a geographic one, I think, which is my personal opinion is that Mahjong in person is way different and way better than Mahjong online. Now, Mahjong online has a lot of advantages. It's a lot faster. You don't have to shuffle the tiles. You can go through games like bam, bam, bam. But I think that online Mahjong has two big flaws. The first is that you are not actually holding the tiles. You're not sitting in front of the people. There's no community. There's no sense of camaraderie between Mahjong players who are playing online. You are almost playing against a box, right?
Yeah.
The other players, you know that there are probably other players behind that box, but it's not the kind of thing that's easy to make a community around, or at least the way that the current clients are set up, it's very hard to make a community around. It doesn't have a lot of the support that video games that get a large community have going for them, right? Like voice chat and online forums and lots of trying to bridge that gap to close out that feeling of playing against a cold box. The other problem I think that there's with online Mahjong is that it teaches bad play style. Because of the restrictions of online Mahjong, everyone basically has to play Blitzkrieg Mahjong. It's like, imagine if the only kind of chess you could ever play is Blitzkrieg Park chess, where you only have 3 seconds to make a discard, and the games go so fast that you don't spend a lot of time reflecting upon your own personal decisions, and you feel like the games are more disposable, right? Because especially if you're not playing for ranking on a client like Tenho or any of those other online sites that track your scores, if you're not actually playing to increase your rating, then a lot of people will just play all-in Mahjong, and they'll just internalize the decisions that they make there while they're playing
Mm-hmm.
and reinforce their bad behavior, and then they just don't get any better, right?
Yeah.
They'll just chalk everything up to luck, because if
Mm-hmm.
everyone's playing all aggressive mahjong, then it really does come down to who draws the better tiles,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And the effect of having even one player at a table who's playing in a very aggressive style, it warps the entire game around that player's play style. Now other people have to play with the idea in mind that that player is at the table, and that player is not going to respect your reaches. That player is not going to read into other people's tells. You're going to fight for their hand no matter what. That they might throw into your garbage hand no matter how bad your hand is. They might just throw it in. And then other people might start playing more aggressively in response. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so this is like, you get a very different experience when you get to the like top tables at World Reach Championship, because no one plays in that sort of reckless style. Be very aggressive, and people will play very fast. But they will not deal into just a random reach. They will find a way to, oh, I know what your winning tile probably is, so I'm going to make it so that I can incorporate that into my hand. And the players who learn while playing online, they'll never get to a point where they do that, because the kind of play that it encourages is not that style of play, or that style of deep consideration for the choices that you made. Right? There's not enough time to reflect. You're just in another game immediately. So I think to bring this back home, building a good Mahjong community involves getting more people playing in person and more game, and getting that sort of critical feedback to people so that they can become better players. Now, some people will often respond to critique of their play by saying, I play how I want, you know, I'm doing this for fun, this is the way I like to play. And those kind of people, if that's their opinion, then they're not going to get better anyway. But for the people who want to improve their play, having the space to do so, and having the resources to do so, and the community to support them, that's big. And I think that that's the biggest difference between the Seattle Reach Mahjong Club of now, as opposed to this Reach Mahjong Club of 3 years ago, is there are people who want to do that, and people who are willing to take the time to make an event, the Reach Retreat, where a big focus of it is, we're going to have lectures, you know, or panels, or you know, little training sessions with some of the better players to discuss how do you get better at defense, how do you get better at building your hand while not dealing in, and so on. But a lot
of community
is very limited by geography. If you don't happen to live in the LA area or the Bay Area or the Seattle area, you might not have as many resources. And unfortunately, America is a very big place, and the cities are very split apart.
That's true.
Like, some people are willing to drive an hour both ways to go to Mahjong every week, but that still limits you to a very few locations that you can live. And for the people who live in, like, Florida or whatever, like, my only hope is that at least someone gets excited about Mahjong enough to start their own community and find other people, and eventually get to the point where they as well can play with a group of people in person and join the greater North American Riichi Mahjong sort of like network.
Yeah. So I know there's a lot of groups out there in the East Coast, Midwest. Dallas. There is one in Florida. Las Vegas started one. New York area. There's a few. So it seems like there's more and more groups forming. Whether it be because of anime or hopefully it's because they've heard about this thing called WRC or these leagues and other existing clubs out there, maybe word of mouth. But yeah, they are forming. So bright future coming. Hopefully sooner than later. But as long as the existing clubs continue to do what we do, to continue to spread and try to help grow this community as a whole, I think we're set. So everybody, all the groups have their own goals. Bichen, you mentioned about opening up a place if possible. So to some people that might be the next step. To others it might be finding 3 other people to play with. Everybody has different goals. It's in a different stage of their Mahjong career, I guess, in their Mahjong journey, because it is a never-ending journey. But I think today's episode was pretty deep again. Different, starting from the history of how you guys started and what you guys see as a goal, what you guys envision. So hopefully some of the guys out there would take something out of it, try to implement that. LAPOM, we're always open here for questions, so let us know. I'm hoping I'm pretty sure Bichen and Zach, you guys are open to any feedback. If somebody in the area or maybe even far away have something they want to ask you guys, hey, how did you guys do this, or what do you guys think of that? So as a community, again, if we could all join forces, compete together when we have to, but other than that, everybody's we're all friends, we're all in this together as a community, so it's open.
Yeah, and I think just more of the interplay between the different groups and more of like the greater North American league becoming a thing like that, a support network for new groups who are starting, for instance.
We're also trying to run a tournament in the second weekend of November, and we still are trying to look for a venue. So if you know any venues,
or if somebody knows somebody that knows a place.
Worst case, let's just play at outside some of the park.
That'll be pretty fun.
We wanted to have a full auto table tournament.
Oh yeah, that's
the one
true.
we did last time.
That's true. That or get a bunch of extension cords.
or we
and then a diesel generator.
No, we have a solar panel to run the
solar
table.
panel. Okay. Oh.
That'll be the next step. But yeah, it's been a fun hour. Any last words, guys? Any shout outs? Bichen, Zach?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Just come to PML. We need people. Some person came from Sacramento last Sunday.
Oh, nice.
Props to him.
Sacramento Kings. It sounds like everybody doesn't like the NBA. Okay.
Well, free agency will start again, I think, tomorrow. Or people are allowed to talk with players, so that's stuff to look forward to. I don't have... Masa, any last questions? Any last words?
I have a question for Zach and Bichen. Are we a Mahjong friend?
Of course.
Yay!
Yes.
All right, there we go.
Thank you.
The official closing words from Masa. So, yep. So you guys are hearing this on Tuesday, July 3rd, I believe. We'll do it again next week. Next week guest is... Are we finalized on next week's guest, Masa? Not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, we're close. So we'll announce that as well. That one will be live again. So if you guys are going to be in the comments, feel free to leave some questions and stuff there. This specific episode is not live, as some of you guys may have noticed. So if you guys have any questions for Bichen and Zach, leave them in the comments. Check their websites, check their organization club websites. You guys, Twitter, anything like that you guys want to throw in there too? Not really?
Just search for Seattle Mahjong Group on Meetup and you can find us. I think
Awesome.
we also have a Facebook. If you also search for Seattle Riichi Mahjong on Facebook, you can find us. And yeah, if you're in the area, or if you can only come to the Seattle area, I definitely recommend coming for SakuraCon. It's Easter week. I know not everyone can travel during that time, but if you can, I promise you that you will get to play more Mahjong in 60 hours than you can stomach, probably.
One of the biggest, I think, conventions when it comes to Mahjong. I've seen the pictures. There's a bunch of people. And PML hosts Fanime in San Jose every year.
Yes.
So that's
We don't have enough people to
year.
teach, but
yeah.
hopefully we can get more teaching presence there.
Yeah, that'll be Memorial Day weekend. LAPOM members, we kind of booked the Rankers Carnival on the same weekend because that worked for us and some of the other players. So if we could possibly plan it on a different day, I would probably be able to help out. Maybe some guys from LAPOM will want to visit, help out there.
And
yeah,
I believe signups are still open for the North American Reach Open. And so I guess we should all try to get seats in that. So it's not going to be as big as WRC, but everyone in North America, no matter what corner that you happen to live in, if you can make it up there, like let's play Mahjong together.
Yeah, and they have a essay contest, so start writing your essay.
Sounds like a plan. So, one of these days we're planning to get somebody from the organizers for that event to give us a little more info and details on that. So, stuff to look forward to in future episodes. But for today's, I think we'll call it a night. Thank you, Zach and Bichen, again for being our guests. I know might have jet lag, but enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take care.
And yep. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye bye. お疲れ様でした。
バイバイ。
お疲れ様です。
お疲れ様でした。